will see the last two sets of properties for CSS. One is table and the other one is display. These two are again very important properties. So the first one is CSS tables. So we have already seen the table tag in HTML when we saw HTML. So here we are just going to see the style, different style properties that you can give for tables. Okay, so first is table border, the border property. So the example, this table has got the black double border. So you see two line border here, that is the default. So two line borders, and the border is surrounding the table. The outside the table you have the table is surrounded by the border, and then the heading, the th tag, which specifies the heading, column heading also is surrounded by a border, and then you have the individual cell also is surrounded by the border. So you can give see, you can if you want a table like this, then how should you give? What are the properties that you should give? You want, as I told you, you want table to be surrounded, and then the th to be surrounded, and this individual cell is actually td. So td also, the table data also to be surrounded by a border. Then in that case you will have to say table th comma td, and then border. This is the shortened property that I told you in the previous video. So border colon, you have three properties here. One px is the border width, and then solid means border style, what style you want. And then when you saw borders, we saw so many styles, border styles. Okay, and then finally the color is black. Now let us see the example for this. Now here, so instead of th, so let me say I don't have table. Okay, I am just giving th and td. So let's see what happens. So you will see that the individual cells are just covered. The th and the tds are alone covered with has a border, but the outside, the table was now surrounded with a border. That border is now disappeared. Okay, because I have taken it out. Now let me take th out. So let's see what happens. You will see that the th, the title heading is not, the column headings is not now covered with a border, or surrounded with a border. So this is the difference. Okay, so now you will see that there is a border, and the color is, if you want to change this into, let me say red, then you will have red in color. Okay, so now here I am changing, instead of 1 px, let me say 4 px. You will see thick. So this the width of the, or thickness of the border is what is this. Now instead of solid, suppose I say dotted, you will get dotted. So these are some of the properties that you can have. Okay, so first is border, then width. Width also we have seen. Suppose you want table, the width is always given to the table. Whether you want the width to be displayed, take the full window, and then display for the full length and breadth of the screen. Okay, so then in that case it is width colon 100%. Okay, double borders is, now suppose you want the you don't want double borders, so then you will have to say collapse, border hyphen collapse, that is the property, and then colon collapse. Now let us see this. So look at this, width colon 100%. When you say width colon 100%, then you will have the width, this is your window, this is your screen size. So the screen, the table is displayed across the screen. It is taking the full length width of the screen. So that is what is called as 100%. Now suppose let me say 50%. Then in that case the the table size will now be reduced to 50%. Now what do you mean by collapse? Now earlier we saw in the same table properties we had given in the previous example, border 1px solid black. Now here we have given one extra property for table. We have said border collapse colon collapse, which means the outside border will collapse with the the table border will get collapsed with the individual cell border, and you will get something like this. Okay, if you want a single border, if you don't want double borders, two line borders, then you will have to say border hyphen collapse colon. Border hyphen collapse is the attribute or property name, and the property value is collapse. So if you give this, then you will get a table like this. But if you don't give this property, let me remove this property. So if you remove this property, then if you run this, you will get something like this. Okay, so this is border collapse property. Now you suppose I told you, I showed you how to remove the borders. So you can give border, specify border for the table alone. So if you want the border to be table surrounding the table, and you don't want the individual cells to be bordered, then you will have to give this property for the table alone. If you don't want it for the table, and if you want only for the individual cells, you can just give these properties to th and td alone and not for the table. So as if you want, if you don't want for, if you want only for table and th, then you can remove it for td. Then so like that you can, however you want the table to be displayed, you can display it. So these are some of the properties for table. Now the next is table size. Table sizes, you can, instead of giving width, you can specify the width and height of the table. In the previous thing we saw table width alone. Now here you can give height also. So width refers to the screen size across the screen, across the window from left to right, but height refers the height means height from top to bottom. Okay, so you can also specify the height. In the previous example we saw only width. Now you can also give height. So this height is, you can vary the height of the you can, if you specify this height for the table, it is you are now specifying the height for the table. But if you give the height for th, so look at this. Okay, so we will see this example. So the height is given, mentioned only for th. So you will see that the cell size for the header is long. Now let us, I will give it for th comma td also, then you run. So you will see, you will get a big, the column width will be same for, or the cell width will be same for the heading as well as for the individual data. Okay, so this is height and width for the table. And then table alignment. Table alignment is whether you want to text align. Text align, we saw you can align the text for text towards left, right or center. So similarly you can have td, if you want the text inside the cell to be left aligned, you can say text td. For td you can say text hyphen align as center. So let me show you that example. So here text align as center, so instead let me give left. So then you will see that the text is left aligned. Okay, text is left aligned. Now suppose I say td and th, so comma th and then say left. So you will see the headings, column headings are also text aligned. And here the table is Table width is given as 100%. So the table is spanned across the full screen, full window from left to right. Okay, so this is text align. Text align is the horizontal alignment, whether you want the text to be aligned to the left or in the center or to the right. So that is text align property. And finally, table style. Table style is, you can give padding inside this. So padding is, you can have padding. Padding is, we have already seen, space around. Suppose you say padding colon 15 pixels for TH and TD, you will get some space on top of each. You can also specify this. We have seen you can give height for TH and TD, or instead of giving height for the cell, you can just use padding also. So padding also will have the same effect, just like your height. Okay, so these are some of the table properties that you can use with CSS. And the last one is CSS display or CSS layout. So this display property is very important because this display property we will be using it in later in XML also. So XML we will be using all these CSS properties. So we will be using the CSS property along, and one of the main property that we are going to use in CSS in XML. The next set of videos which we are going to see is XML. So there we will be using this display property very much. Okay, so it is very important. So the display property is the most important CSS property for controlling the layout. So you have the display property specifies how an element is displayed. Now, what do you mean by an element? An HTML element. How a particular, whether a paragraph is displayed. How you have two types of elements. We have already seen in the first video that there are two types of elements. One is a block element and the other one set of inline elements. So how the block elements are displayed and how the inline elements are displayed. So block level elements we have already seen. These are the block level elements: div, h1 to h6, p, form. Form we have not yet seen. We will see it in the next video. Then for header, footer, section. So all these things, header, footer, section also we have not seen, but they are not that important for us. So we will be seeing this form in the next set of videos. Okay, so we have already seen div, we have already seen h1 to h6 and p. So these are some of the block level elements. And now example for inline elements. Inline elements: span, tag, anchor and image. So we have seen all the three tags earlier. So how do we give the display, how do we use the display property with any of these tags? Okay, so display colon none is commonly used. Now we will be using it in JavaScript in the next year also. Okay, so so you will have to say display colon none. But anyways, here how do we use this? Say, let us say you want the default is when you use a ordered list or an unordered list, the default display of the list is one below the other. We have seen so many lists in the previous video. So there, when you display, when the list items were displayed one below the other. Now suppose vertically, but suppose you want to display the list horizontally, one by the side of the other. Okay, like a menu. So here on top you have, this is a menu, and you have these, each one is a link, and this is a list displayed. This is an unordered list displayed horizontally. So suppose you want it to be displayed like this. So now how do we use it? So you will have to say, look at this source code for this. You will see. So each one is displayed as a link also. So you have this is a list. This is a list of links, and it is displayed in the horizontally as a menu. So we will see the source code for this, how exactly we can do this. Now HTML tag is open, and then head tag is open because we'll have to give a style here. So open the style tag and you give the list, this list item. So give the property display colon inline. So when you say inline, it is displayed the list item. See that the property display is now given for list item. So the list items are now displayed inline. Inline means all in one line. So one after the other. It is given in the same line, not one below the other. One below the other na ஒரே லைன்ல இல்ல, different linesல display ஆகுது. Now here we are saying inline. When you say inline, it means display everything in one line. So which means one after the other horizontally. So that is the property that you have attached to the list item. Now let us see how the list is defined. So now we are going to define a list with a list of links. So each list item will be a link. Now how do we give a link? You will have to use an anchor tag. So every list item, it will be a nested nested tags. So where you will just open an unordered list and then you will give list item, and then inside the list item we have now given an anchor tag. So anchor h reference equal to, we have given the URL, and target equal to underscore blank and then HTML. So when you click on this HTML, it will go to this page, and then close the anchor tag, close the list item. Then next list item, open the list item and then open the anchor tag, give the href, target, and then content. Content is CSS. So when you click on this CSS, it will, so each one is now given as a link. So this is an example of how you can create a list of links, and the links and this list can be displayed horizontally. Okay, so for that we'll have to use this display property. So display colon inline will display all the elements, or it need not see this, you need not use this display colon link only for display colon inline only for the list elements being links. For ordinary list, which we have seen in the previous example, in previous video, there also you can give this display colon inline. So let me show you an example. Okay, so here you have this, and then you can give, so there is a here you can add one more, you can have one more this thing. Okay, okay, so list item, and then you can say flower braces, and then you can give display, okay, colon inline. See what happens when you say display colon inline? You will see that all the types, the bullets or the markers are now removed. Okay, and every list item, the list is displayed horizontally. Okay, so that is the difference when you give display colon inline. So when you remove this, you will see that the list is displayed vertically, and when you display it vertically, the markers appear. Okay, so that is display using inline. Now the next is, you can use display colon block. Now when you say display colon block, inside this block you cannot have another block element. That is the meaning for this. So when you say span, you say this display colon block is applied to span, which means this wherever span tag, okay, let me see the example for this. So a span tag is displayed, span here is a display property with the value of block results in, and then a close span, and another span is a line break between the two elements. So these are you have two span tags defined in the body, and then there is a property which is attached to span tag. So span display colon block. So which means inside this span tag you cannot have any other block item, like say for example you cannot have a paragraph inside the span, you cannot have a paragraph, you cannot have a div, like that. Okay, so inside the block, so all this the whole whatever text that you have defined inside the span will all be displayed together. That is the meaning for display colon block. And display colon block is very important. So look at this example. Okay, so display colon block, so display links as block elements. So all the let us see if you don't give this, what happens. See what happens. So by default all the reference, when you give anchor tags like this, what happens? We have not given any list, but we got the same output when we created an unordered list, and then when we say display colon inline, அதையும் இதே அப்போ அதுக்கும் அவுட்புட் இதே தான் வந்தது. பட் அந்த ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி எல்லாம் கொடுக்காம டைரெக்டாக வெறும்னு 3 லிங்க் கொடுத்தாலே என்ன ஆகும், இப்படி தான் ஹாரிசான்டலாக டிஸ்பிளே ஆகும். பட் இப்படி எனக்கு ஹாரிசான்டலாக டிஸ்பிளே ஆக வேண்டாம். ஐ வாண்ட் it to be displayed as a vertically, one after the other. Then what should you do? Then you will have to say okay, display colon block. Now if you run this, you will see you will get one below the other. So display colon block is you are creating a block and it will be displayed one after the other. So everything together will happen, and in between, inside this block you cannot have anything else. That is the meaning for display block. So display is, we have seen display inline and display block. These are the two different values that this display can take. It can also take display colon none, but that we may not be using much. So we may be using only these two values, one either display colon inline or display colon block. So we have actually there are so many other CSS properties, but whatever I have covered are the most important ones that we will be using in future. Out of interest, if you want to learn more, you visit these two websites, either the w3schools.com or javatpoint.com. So visit these two websites to learn some more CSS properties. Thank you.